Cody Brown just might have confessed to a federal crime on national television, and honestly, nobody seems to be talking about it enough. We're not talking about a little white lie or some reality TV drama cooked up for ratings. We're talking about potential mortgage fraud on a $1.6 million mansion, the kind of fraud that could land someone in prison for up to 30 years. Yes, you heard that right, 30 years. During a recent Sister Wives episode, Cody casually dropped a bombshell that had anyone with even a basic understanding of mortgage law doing a double take. He admitted to paying back Janelle for money she gave him and Robyn to buy their house. Sounds innocent enough, right? Wrong, because that money was documented as a gift that legally never had to be repaid, a gift that helped them qualify for a mortgage they couldn't otherwise afford. And if Cody paid it back, well, that means it was never actually a gift at all. It was a loan that was misrepresented to a financial institution. And that, my friends, is textbook mortgage fraud. The tension has been building for years, but this admission just ripped the lid off everything. Janelle has been dropping hints about the money she fronted for Robyn's house. And now we know why she's been so careful with her words. She can't demand it back without exposing the whole scheme. Robyn has been playing the victim, refusing to even discuss Coyote Pass or sit down with the other wives. And Cody? He's been doing what he does best, lying through his teeth while acting like he's the hero in this twisted fairy tale. But here's where it gets even more explosive. Robyn has spent years insisting this was family money, that it belonged to everyone, that she had every right to it. She denied repeatedly that the money was Janelle's alone. Family money, she called it. But if it was truly family money, communal funds that everyone agreed to pool together, then why is Cody now claiming he settled a debt with Janelle? Why would there even be a debt to settle if the money was never hers to begin with? The math isn't mathing, and the story keeps changing depending on who's telling it. What we do know is this. Cody and Robyn put down $222,000 on that house back in 2019. Janelle sold her home, a home that Cody wasn't on the title or mortgage for, and handed over close to $100,000 to help them. She signed a gift letter, a legally binding document that says the money doesn't have to be repaid. And now, years later, Cody is on camera saying he paid her back. That's not how gifts work. And if the FBI wanted to, they could absolutely come knocking. Let's rewind and talk about how this whole mess started, because the devil is truly in the details here. Back in 2019, Cody and Robyn were house hunting. They had their eyes set on a massive property in Flagstaff, Arizona, a nearly $1 million home that would become their love nest while the other wives struggled in rentals and cramped living situations. But there was one tiny problem. They didn't have enough money for the down payment. Enter Janelle, the so-called financial guru of the family, the one who always claimed to be smart with money, the bookkeeper, the one who understood finances better than anyone else. Cody came to her with a proposition. He needed her help. Robyn needed her help. The family needed her help. And Janelle, ever the team player, ever the woman trying to prove her worth in this plural marriage nightmare, agreed to help them out. She sold her home, not a home she shared with Cody, not a property with his name on the title or mortgage, her house. And from that sale, she gave them close to $100,000. But here's the kicker. In order for Cody and Robyn to use that money to qualify for their mortgage, Janelle had to sign a gift letter, a document that states very clearly that the money is a gift, not a loan, that it doesn't need to be repaid, that it won't add to Cody and Robyn's debt-to-income ratio. Without that letter, the bank wouldn't have approved the loan. So Janelle signed it, and Cody and Robyn waltzed into their dream home with $222,000 down and a fresh mortgage for over $1 million. Meanwhile, Janelle was left bouncing between rentals, waiting for her turn, waiting for Cody to make good on his promise. Because rumor has it, Cody assured her she'd get her money back eventually, that once they figured out Coyote Pass, she'd get her piece of the pie, that he'd take care of her. But that's not what the paperwork said. The paperwork said gift, and in the eyes of the law, that distinction matters more than any verbal promise Cody whispered in her ear. Fast forward to now, and Janelle is sitting in front of cameras admitting she'll probably never see that money again. She's calling it a dead issue. She's saying there are a billion reasons why Cody doesn't owe it. And when her daughter Maddie suggests she should fight for it, Janelle just shrugs it off like it's a lost cause. Why? Because her lawyer almost certainly told her the truth. Once you sign a gift letter, it's legally binding. If she tries to claim it was actually a loan, she's admitting to mortgage fraud. If Cody admits he paid her back, he's admitting to mortgage fraud. They're all stuck in this tangled web of lies and legal documents, and the only people who benefited are Cody and Robyn, sitting pretty in their mansion while Janelle eats the loss. But that was just the beginning of how deep this betrayal really goes. Now let's talk about Robyn, because her behavior throughout this entire Coyote Pass situation is absolutely telling. She's refusing to participate in any conversations about selling the property. She won't sit down with Janelle, Christine, or Mary. She claims it's too toxic, too dangerous, too emotionally draining for her delicate constitution. She tells Cody she just can't handle being in the same room with them because of all the negativity and conflict. But here's where Robyn's story falls apart. This is the same woman who had absolutely zero problem sitting front row while Cody verbally eviscerated his other wives. She was right there when he screamed at Christine, twisting the knife deeper with every word. She sat beside him, tears streaming down her face, playing the victim while Christine was being emotionally destroyed. She had no issue being present when Cody tore into Janelle, yelling and berating her in front of cameras. Robyn didn't find that toxic. She didn't find that dangerous. In fact, she seemed perfectly comfortable egging him on. So why now? Why is it suddenly too unsafe for her to sit down with these women when literally nothing violent or threatening has ever happened? Christine and Robyn have been in the same room multiple times since the divorces. Everyone played nice, everyone kept it civil. There were no explosions, no screaming matches, no physical altercations. Yet Robyn keeps using these weaponized words like dangerous and unsafe to paint herself as the eternal victim who needs protecting. Sources close to the situation suggest Robyn is avoiding these conversations for one reason and one reason only: accountability. If she were forced to sit down with a moderator, say during a tell-all special, she'd have to face 3 women who all experience the same neglect, the same favoritism, the same financial manipulation. The pattern would be undeniable. The theft of money, the swindling, the way she and Cody operated would be too obvious to ignore. And Robyn can't have that. She'd rather isolate herself, claim she's being persecuted, and refuse to engage than face the uncomfortable truth that she benefited while the others suffered. She tells Cody that participating in these conversations makes her unwell, that it puts her in a bad place emotionally. And Cody, ever the knight in shining armor for Robyn, accepts this excuse without question. He doesn't push back. He doesn't tell her to be an adult and handle her business. Instead, he protects her, keeps her away from the conflict, and handles everything himself. But here's what's really happening. Robyn doesn't want to be on record discussing the money. She doesn't want to answer questions about the gift letter, the down payment, or why she spent years claiming it was family money when it clearly wasn't. She doesn't want to explain why Janelle is out $100,000 while she's living in luxury. So she hides behind claims of toxicity and danger, playing the fragile flower who can't possibly withstand the stress of a simple business meeting. And honestly, it's getting old. But the manipulation doesn't stop there. Let's break down exactly what Cody admitted to and why it's such a massive legal problem. When you apply for a mortgage, lenders scrutinize every single dollar you're bringing to the table. They need to know where your down payment is coming from because it affects your ability to repay the loan. If you're borrowing money from someone else, that increases your debt load and changes your debt-to-income ratio. That could mean the difference between getting approved or getting denied. That's where gift letters come in. A gift letter is a legal document signed by both the person giving the money and the person receiving it. It explicitly states that the money is a gift, not a loan, that it doesn't have to be repaid, that there are no strings attached. Banks require this documentation because it ensures you're not secretly taking on additional debt that could jeopardize your ability to make mortgage payments. It's a critical part of the underwriting process, and lying on a gift letter is considered fraud. Cody and Robyn needed Janelle's money to qualify for their home. Without it, they didn't have enough for the down payment, so Janelle signed a gift letter stating the money was a gift. The bank approved the loan based on that representation, and for years everything seemed fine. But then Cody opened his mouth on national television and said he settled the debt with Janelle. He paid her back, he made it right, except you can't pay back a gift. The moment money changes hands as repayment, it stops being a gift and becomes a loan. A loan that should have been disclosed to the lender. A loan that would have impacted Cody and Robyn's approval. By admitting he paid Janelle back, Cody is essentially confessing that the gift letter was false, that they misrepresented the nature of the money to the financial institution, and that falls squarely under the category of mortgage fraud. The legal term for this is false statements to a financial institution, covered under Title 18, United States Code, Section 1014. It's also bank fraud if there was intent to deceive for loan approval. The maximum penalty? Up to 30 years in prison or up to $1 million in fines. Now, realistically, most cases result in much much lesser sentences. But the point remains. This is a federal crime and Cody just admitted to it on camera. Here's the thing though. Janelle is in an impossible position. She can't pursue legal action to get her money back without exposing the fraud. If she files a claim saying it was actually a loan, she's admitting she lied on the gift letter too. She'd be implicating herself in the scheme, even though she's clearly the victim here. She's the one who lost $100,000. She's the one who got conned by Cody's promises that he'd take care of her later. But because she signed that gift letter, because she went along with the paperwork, she has no legal recourse, and Cody knows it. He's betting on the fact that she won't pursue this because it would blow up in everyone's faces. Janelle Brown is stuck in what can only be described as a financial nightmare with absolutely no way out. She's the victim of a con, plain and simple. But because of how everything was structured, because of the paperwork she signed, and because of statements she made on camera over the years, she can't fight back without destroying herself in the process. Let's look at the facts. Janelle sold her house, a property that was hers alone. Cody's name wasn't on the title. He wasn't on the mortgage. When that house sold, every penny of equity belonged to Janelle. She could have walked away, bought herself a new home, secured her own future. But instead, she handed close to $100,000 over to Cody and Robyn so they could buy their dream house. And she did it because Cody promised her it would all work out, that she'd be taken care of, that this was family money benefiting the family. But here's where Janelle made a catastrophic mistake. She signed a gift letter, and worse, she went on television for years backing up Robyn's narrative that this was communal family money, that they were all in it together, that the money wasn't just hers, it belonged to everyone. She reinforced the idea that this was some kind of collective pot that everyone had access to, and now those statements are on record, filmed, broadcasted, archived forever. So when Janelle finally consulted with a lawyer about getting her money back, the answer was devastating. Any competent attorney would have looked at the mortgage documents, seen the gift letter, and told her the harsh truth. You can't claim it was a loan without admitting to fraud. The gift letter is legally binding. You stated on camera that this was family money and that you were all in agreement. You have no grounds to demand repayment. Maddie, Janelle's daughter, has been pushing her to fight for that money. She sees the injustice clear as day. Her mother gave Cody and Robyn $100,000 and got nothing in return except broken promises and financial ruin. But Janelle knows it's a losing battle. She tells Maddie it's a dead issue, that there would be a million reasons why Cody doesn't owe it, that it's just not worth the fight. What she's really saying is this: if I push too hard, we all go down. If Cody admits he paid me back or promised to pay me back, he's confessing to mortgage fraud. If I claim it was always meant to be a loan, I'm confessing to mortgage fraud. The only people who really face criminal liability here are Cody and Robyn, because they're the ones who signed the loan documents. They're the ones who represented to the lender that the money was a gift and didn't have to be repaid. But Janelle could still be implicated as someone who helped facilitate the fraud, even if prosecutors typically focus on the borrowers, not the gift donors. So Janelle sits in silence. She eats the loss. She watches Cody and Robyn live lavishly in their mansion while she struggles. And there's absolutely nothing she can do about it without risking everything. But then things got even more suspicious. Here's where things take an even more suspicious turn. Cody and Robyn refinanced their home in 2021, just 2 years after the original purchase. And while refinancing isn't unusual, the timing and circumstances around this particular refinance raised some serious red flags. Was this their attempt to erase the evidence, to cover their tracks and make the fraudulent gift letter disappear from their mortgage history? When you refinance a home, you're essentially paying off your old mortgage and taking out a brand new one. New paperwork, new loan documents, new disclosures, and most importantly, a fresh start with no mention of previous gift letters or questionable down payment sources. If Cody and Robyn refinanced without needing any additional gift documentation, if they suddenly qualified on their own income and assets, then the original fraud gets buried under layers of new paperwork. Sources speculate this wasn't just about getting a better interest rate, this was about self-preservation. By 2021, the cracks in the Brown family were already showing. Christine was pulling away. Janelle was questioning everything. Mary was practically estranged. And Cody and Robyn likely realized that at some point, someone might start asking uncomfortable questions about how they afforded that house in the first place. So they refinanced. They got a new loan, probably with better terms since they'd been making payments for 2 years and had built up some equity, and and suddenly there's no gift letter on file with the new lender. No documentation of Janelle's $100,000, no paper trail connecting her money to their home purchase. It's all just gone, replaced by clean, fresh mortgage documents that make it look like Cody and Robyn qualified entirely on their own merits. But here's the problem. Refinancing doesn't erase the original fraud. The crime happened in 2019 when they misrepresented Janelle's money as a gift that didn't need to be repaid. Whether they refinanced a year later, 5 years later, or never at all, that original false statement to the financial institution still occurred. The fraud still happened. And if Cody paid Janelle back at any point, whether before or after the refinance, it proves the money was never actually a gift. What's even more suspicious is the timeline Cody gives. He claims he settled the debt with Janelle back in January or February of this year. He says it's all taken care of, that she told him they were good, that everything was more than fair. But Janelle tells a completely different story. She's on camera saying she'll probably never get that money back, that it's a dead issue, that any lawyer would tell her she has no grounds to demand repayment. So who's lying? Is Cody making up this payment to save face and look like the good guy who eventually made things right? Or did he actually give Janelle money, which would be a direct admission of fraud? The stories don't match up, and the more you dig into the details, the more it becomes clear that someone is absolutely not telling the truth. And Robyn's behavior through all of this makes it even more obvious something shady went down. Robyn Brown has turned weaponizing her own fragility into an art form, and nowhere is that more obvious than in how she's handling the Coyote Pass situation. She's not just avoiding conflict, she's strategically positioning herself as someone who's too emotionally delicate to face accountability, and Cody is eating it up like the devoted husband he's always been to her and only her. When Cody tells her he needs to have a phone call with Janelle about selling the property, Robyn asks if she needs to be there, and Cody, predictably, says probably not. She responds with immediate relief, claiming it's too heartbreaking, that it puts her in a bad place. But let's be real about what's actually happening here. Robyn is manipulating Cody by playing the damsel in distress, by telling him she can't handle these conversations. She's essentially telling him he can't fight her on it. He can't demand she act like an adult and handle her business obligations. Instead, she keeps herself in a role where he has to protect her, where he has to shield her from the big bad ex-wives who apparently pose some kind of threat, and Cody, who has spent years prioritizing Robyn above everyone else, falls for it every single time. He doesn't question why she can handle his explosive confrontations with the other wives, but can't handle a simple business discussion. He doesn't ask why she's suddenly so fragile when she's been perfectly fine watching him tear the others apart. Insiders suggest Robyn uses this tactic because it keeps her from being confronted with the truth. If she's not in the room, she doesn't have to answer questions about the money. She doesn't have to explain why she claimed it was family money for years. She doesn't have to look Janelle in the eye and justify living in a mansion that was partially funded by Janelle's hard-earned savings. She gets to stay in her protective bubble while Cody handles all the messy details. But there's something even more sinister happening here. Robyn is laying the groundwork to paint the other wives as abusive. She's already done it with the kids, claiming they're unsafe and that she needs to protect her children from them. And mark these words, it's only a matter of time before she starts using that same language about Janelle, Christine, and Mary. She'll call them abusive, she'll claim they're harassing her, she'll twist the narrative until she's the victim and they're the villains. Why? Because that's the only way Robyn can preserve the fantasy she's built in her head. She can't accept that she and Cody systematically destroyed this family. She can't acknowledge that her preferential treatment, her financial manipulation, and her constant victimhood pushed everyone else away. So instead, she'll rewrite history. She'll make it everyone else's fault. She'll claim she was the one being mistreated all along, and Cody will back her up because he always does. He'll co-sign her version of reality no matter how absurd it becomes. Because at this point, Robyn and Cody are so deeply invested in their own delusion that admitting the truth would shatter everything. But the Coyote Pass sale reveals another layer of desperation. The sudden urgency to sell Coyote Pass is raising eyebrows, and for good reason. Cody spent years dragging his feet on this property. The wives begged him to sell it so they could get their money out and move on with their lives. Christine asked for it, Janelle demanded it. Even Mary wanted some kind of resolution, but Cody refused. He held on to that land like it was sacred ground, talking about his dreams and his vision for the family compound that was never gonna happen. So why now? Why is Cody suddenly so eager to unload Coyote Pass after years of stonewalling everyone? According to his own words on the show, he needs the money for his house, the house he shares with Robyn, the $1.6 million mansion that apparently requires an influx of cash to maintain or pay down or whatever financial crisis they're currently facing. But here's where the math stops making sense. When Cody sold Christine's house, the one at Hash Knife, that money supposedly supposedly went toward the new home he and Robyn bought. They put down $222,000 and took out a mortgage for the rest. Fast forward to today, and that mortgage is still sitting at $1.66 million. It hasn't changed. So if the money from Christine's house went into this home and they haven't paid down the principal in any significant way, where exactly is all their money going? And more importantly, how is selling Coyote Pass going to help their current house situation? The only way it makes sense is if they're planning to take the proceeds and either pay down the mortgage or give it directly to the lender to avoid some kind of financial penalty. But if that's the case, why didn't they just refinance again to pull equity out or restructure the loan? The whole thing is confusing and suspicious, and Cody isn't giving straight answers about any of it. What's even more frustrating is how Cody is handling the actual sale. Janelle and Mary's names aren't on the title yet, which means they can't participate in negotiations with the realtor. They can't push back on offers. They can't ask questions about appraisals or pricing. They're completely shut out of the process, and Cody is acting like he's doing them a favor by finally agreeing to sell. But this isn't generosity, this is desperation. Cody needs cash, and he needs it now. The sale of Coyote Pass isn't about making things right with his ex-wives. It's about bailing himself and Robyn out of whatever financial mess they've created. And you can bet that once the property sells, Janelle and Mary will get their cut, but Cody will find a way to maximize his own profit while minimizing theirs. He's already acting like the holdup was because of them, like they were the ones dragging their feet. But the truth is, they've been demanding this for years. He's only doing it now because he's backed into a corner and has no other choice. But here's the most infuriating part of all. Here's the part that's gonna make your blood boil. Despite everything, despite the admission, despite the clear evidence of potential mortgage fraud, Cody and Robyn will almost certainly never face any legal consequences for what they did. And that's the most frustrating part of this entire mess. They'll get away with it just like they've gotten away with everything else. Let's talk about why. Mortgage fraud cases typically get prosecuted when there's significant financial loss to the lending institution or when the fraud is part of a larger scheme affecting multiple victims. In this case, the bank didn't lose money. Cody and Robyn have been making their mortgage payments. The house hasn't gone into foreclosure. From the lender's perspective, everything looks fine. They got their loan repaid with interest, so there's no financial incentive for them to dig into how the down payment was sourced. The only victim here is Janelle. She's the one out $100,000. She's the one who got conned and manipulated. But because she signed that gift letter, because she went along with the arrangement, and because she can't pursue legal action without implicating herself, there's no formal complaint being filed. No victim means no investigation. No investigation means no charges. No charges means Cody and Robyn walk away clean. And this is infuriating because we've watched other reality stars go to prison for doing the exact same thing. Teresa Giudice from Real Housewives of New Jersey served time for bankruptcy fraud and conspiracy to commit mail fraud and wire fraud. She and her husband Joe lied on loan applications, misrepresented their income, and tried to hide assets. Sound familiar? Yet Teresa went to prison while Cody gets to keep living his best life in his mansion with Robyn. The difference is scale and attention. Teresa's case was part of a larger investigation. There were multiple fraudulent applications, significant dollar amounts, and federal prosecutors who decided to make an example out of reality TV stars committing financial crimes. Cody's situation is smaller, quieter, and frankly, nobody with the power to prosecute seems to care enough to look into it. Where is the FBI? Where are the federal investigators who should be knocking on Cody's door asking questions about that gift letter and his admission of paying Janelle back? They're nowhere because this isn't a large-scale fraud. It's one family, one house, one loan, and unless Janelle or someone else files a formal complaint and pushes for an investigation, nothing is going to happen. So Cody gets to lie on camera, claim he's settled the debt, maintain his image as someone who eventually did the right thing, and face zero consequences. Robyn gets to live in luxury, avoid all accountability, and continue playing the victim. And Janelle gets nothing except the knowledge that she was betrayed by the man she loved and the sister wife she trusted. The system failed her. The law failed her. And Cody and Robyn exploited every loophole to make sure they came out on top. But this is about more than just one bad mortgage deal. This isn't just about one fraudulent gift letter or one mansion or even $100,000. This is about a pattern of financial exploitation that's been baked into the foundation of polygamy itself. And Cody and Robyn are the perfect example of how these power dynamics enable men to manipulate, control, and financially devastate the women in their lives while facing zero accountability. Think about it. Janelle wasn't the only wife who got screwed financially. Christine fought for years to get her fair share of assets and property. Mary was sidelined and pushed out while watching Cody pour resources into Robyn's lifestyle. All three women contributed to the family finances, worked their tails off, and sacrificed for this so-called plural marriage dream. And what do they have to show for it? Broken promises, empty bank accounts, and the devastating realization that they were never actually partners in this arrangement. They were assets to be used and discarded when convenient. Robyn positioned herself from day one as the favorite, the one who needed the most help, the most protection, the most resources, and Cody gave it to her without hesitation. Meanwhile, the other wives were told to be patient, to share, to understand that resources were limited. But they weren't limited for Robyn. There was always money for Robyn's house, Robyn's needs, Robyn's wants. The inequality was staggering, and everyone could see it except Cody. And now, with all three wives finally free from this toxic dynamic, Robyn and Cody are facing the consequences of their own greed. They're stuck with a massive mortgage they can barely afford. They're scrambling to sell Coyote Pass just to keep their heads above water. And insiders are whispering that Robyn might actually be pushing Cody to find a new wife. Not because she suddenly believes in plural marriage again, but because they need more income. They need another woman to come in, contribute financially, and help prop up their lifestyle. It's sick, it's manipulative, and it's exactly the kind of exploitation that polygamy enables. Women are brought into these families with promises of sisterhood and spiritual fulfillment, but the reality is they're being used as financial and emotional resources for men who refuse to be held accountable. The mortgage fraud is just one symptom of a much larger disease. Cody has spent decades lying, manipulating, and rewriting history to suit whatever narrative benefits him most. Robyn has spent years weaponizing her victimhood to avoid responsibility for the harm she's caused. And together, they've created a toxic partnership built on the backs of women who deserve so much better. Janelle will probably never see that $100,000 again. Christine had to fight tooth and nail just to get what was rightfully hers. Mary is still trying to rebuild her life after years of emotional abuse. And Cody and Robyn will continue living in their mansion, playing the victims, and pretending they did nothing wrong. So what do you think? Should Cody and Robyn be investigated for mortgage fraud? Is Janelle ever going to get justice? And will Robyn actually push Cody toward a new wife just to fund their lifestyle? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed because trust me, this story is far from over. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.